Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is business. I love talking about business, business management, business development. Helping others is part of my passion. I really enjoy spending time with other business owners, tweaking things that they're doing. I love tweaking things for myself. I really love tweaking things for myself, and I really enjoy talking to other business owners about my business and get their perspective. You know, because I'm always trying as a business owner to get to the next level, the next edge, the next step, the next breakthrough. So one of the most common questions that people ask me is, they go, Marcus, I've seen your videos. What books? I see all the books behind you. What books do you read, Marcus? What type of book reader are you? What are some of the best books you've read? What's the latest book you've read on business or whatever it is? And that's true. You know, I believe that you know, my bookshelf behind me in my videos is my legacy. It's, you know, it's my education. It's my passion. It says a lot about me. You can look at somebody's bookshelves and see and just get to know a lot about them just by looking at the books that they own. And some people own no books, and it's such a shame. I'm like, you're missing out. And I see people that do a lot of driving. I'm like, man, if I did driving like you, I'd totally be into audiobooks, but non-fiction audiobooks. Now, I just bought Tony Robbins' new book, Money. And you see a lot of books here behind me. This is only a fraction of the books that I own. And this bookshelf goes down another 3 feet to my left, and to my right it probably goes down another 6 feet. And it's packed with books. I love going to bookstores. I love just buying new books. But I also buy a ton of audiobooks. I probably buy about 15, maybe 20 audiobooks a year, and I've been doing about 20 audiobooks. I've been doing 20 audiobooks since 2007. So on my phone and my computer, I have a ton more of books. And for me, I'm an audible person. I like to hear things. I like to listen. I like to see. I kind of like to make jokes saying that I have ADD. I'm an adult with ADD because I start opening a book and my mind wanders. So I start reading, and it's like, as I'm reading, all of a sudden my mind just drifts somewhere else. And I'm like, gee, what was this last paragraph? What was this last page about? And I have to go back and reread. And it's not just wandering off into stupid things. It's into business, into whatever. It's just, so my mind just takes me on a tangent based upon what I'm reading, and just it keeps it going. So for me, I like to be able to listen to a book. I set it on usually 1.25 times faster, so I can get through the book quicker, because at 1.25 times the speed, I still can understand everything that they're saying, but for me it's like speed reading in a sense. So I can get through, you know, a 10-hour book in 7.5 hours, which for me is great. So I usually purchase my books on Audible, audible.com. It's not a commercial for Audible right now, but I've been using them for years. It's actually owned by Amazon. When I started supporting them, they were independently owned. I think it's a great company, a great platform. It's so easy to add the app onto your smartphone, onto your computer. It syncs right into iTunes. It's really, really awesome. So the last book I bought was Tony Robbins' Mastering the Game of Money, Mastering Money. But I loved the book so much I actually bought a hard copy of it, and that's what I do with some of the books. So for instance, any of the books behind me here, like The Cool Impossible by Eric Orton, I have this on audio as well as hard copy. Born to Run, 80-10-10 by Douglas Graham. I have a lot of these duplicate copies, which is great because then I can pick up the hard copy and go right to where I want to and re-reference back, and then I can just listen to the book again. It's really amazing. And you know, here's the thing. We listen to our favorite songs over and over and over again. Well, I listen to the same book sometimes over and over again because it's amazing what you get out of it the second time you listen to it or read it, because you miss things. It's just inevitable that happens. So one of my latest business books that I've read that I've really, really enjoyed is Think Like a Freak. Think Like a Freak, and there's another book called Freakonomics, which was their first book. And Think Like a Freak teaches you how to think outside of the box. It teaches gives examples of how people actually think and how you should be thinking as a business owner, or just as in general as a researcher or whatever. And it's very interesting because they pose different scenarios. Like, for example, one of the scenarios they pose is at a national park, all the petrified wood is disappearing. So on one trail they put a sign, please don't touch the petrified wood, leave it here. You know, it disappears at the rate of 20,000 tons. I'm just throwing a number out. 20 tons a year, or whatever, some number, or 1,000 pounds a year. That's disappearing at that rate off the trails or out of the forest. And so they'll purposely put petrified wood on one trail and purposely put petrified wood on two trails, but one has a sign, one doesn't. And what they find is that people that have read the sign are more apt to take the petrified wood because they're thinking, oh well, it already disappears at 1,000 pounds a year. What's another 1 pound? My 1 pound isn't going to make a difference. So they give a lot of scenarios like that, where by putting up a sign, by bringing things to people's attention, you actually put attention onto it. And of course, if you're a Tony Robbins fan, you know, he always teaches you what you focus on is what you get, right? So if you're focusing on people stealing your stuff, people are going to steal your stuff. So that's basically what's happening with the petrified wood on this trail. So it's really interesting to see just how people think and how people perceive things. One of the great example was, you know, they go over a lot of statistics in the book. So they go over the statistics of a penalty kick in soccer. And, you know, are you going to kick right, kick left, kick straight? And a lot of people, of course, want to kick right or left. Well, in professional soccer, once that penalty kick, the person starts to line up and starts to be in motion, the goalie has to really commit to which way they're going. So they're going to jump right or jump left. And at that point, it's a numbers game, right? But realistically, they have like an 8% chance more if they kick the ball straight dead on to the goalie, right? But none of us would ever think, well, I'm going to kick straight to the goalie because that has my better chances, because you're going to kick to the guy who's standing there. But in professional soccer, that goalie's typically committing one direction or another. So your odds are actually better by kicking it straight into the goalie. And these are things that you don't really think of. And it just gives a ton of examples like that. So Think Like a Freak is really an awesome book. The authors are Stephen Levitt and Stephen Dubner. They also have a podcast, which actually in the audio version of the book, they give you a couple hours in the back of their podcasts. And it's just really interesting to listen to these guys and just the random stuff that they say and the random stuff that's in the book, because it really makes you think, especially for me as a business owner, hey, this is pretty interesting. What if I did my business like this? What if I just changed the wording on some of my marketing, change the wording on my menu, change the wording with my staff and my staff guides. It's all about, you know, how people are perceiving and how it's an amazing book. It's something that I would definitely listen to again. It's something I would definitely buy the hard copy of. So if I buy both copies, you know, that's a double thumbs up for me. Talks about incentive thinking. It talks about what drives people, what motivates people, which is really, really good. As a business owner, I need to really know what motivates people, right? Because that's a major factor in my business, is really what motivates the buyer to buy, but what also really motivates my staff to perform, you know, because that's the toughest part of my business, is managing my staff. So once I can manage my staff, it becomes that much easier. And you know, there's all kinds of system tools, systematization that can manage staff. But still, when it comes down to it, how do you get staff to want to work for you? How do you get staff to want to work harder? How do you get staff to be more self-motivated? So it's really a good book. Now, I've always been a believer that educating myself is extremely important. So me, by buying books, even by buying cookbooks, cookbook is not something you'd read front to back, correct? You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you just don't pick up a 300 recipe cookbook and read through every recipe, right? It's more of a reference guide. Some chefs will put biographies in there, autobiographies, cool stories about their restaurant. They'll intermingle things in which you can read through that. However, you just don't pick up a recipe book and read front to back, because that's not something that, you know, you do. So it's something you keep on your shelf and you say, oh yeah, I have this great vegetarian book, I have this great French book, I have this great Italian book. Let me go back and reference some recipes. So I've always been a big fan of buying books, because I was taught early on as a young culinary student that, you know, because they taught us not to sell our books back in college. A lot of students will sell their books back, and they go, how would you feel if you walked into a doctor's office and the doctor didn't have any books? You know, most doctors have a nice bookshelf, they have reference books. How would you feel if the doctor sold back all of his books in culinary school. Would you actually go to that doctor who sold back all of his books? Of course you wouldn't, because you want the doctor to save his book, especially his reference books. That's the tools of his trade. You know, he may have stethoscopes and other things, but the tools of his trade are really that knowledge that's found in those books. So I've always perceived the knowledge in my books, recipe books, all these recipe books I buy, all these chef books I buy, as part of the foundation for my career. It wasn't until I then later expanded into the more business side of things. So I buy all kinds of books, but in Tony Robbins' new book, he congratulates you after the first chapter because he goes, congratulations, less than 10% of the people actually buy a nonfiction book and get past the first chapter. So you have all these people buying fiction books, all these stories, right? All these made-up stories that are into this and reading this, but they're not doing anything to actually improve their skills. And Tony Robbins is a huge fan of work on yourself, right? Don't work on your job, work on yourself, build better skills. And Jim Rohn was like, you heard Jim Rohn heard him say that many times in his audios. Work on yourself. Get a skill, you know, develop yourself, and that's what's going to make you more marketable. And it's just so true. I learned a long time ago from Kevin Zrally, the person who did Windows on the World wine course, and who has one of the most successful wine books out there ever for the last probably 20 years, 15 years. He said, Marcus, he goes, if you want to be more valuable as a chef, if you want to be more valuable in the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, he goes, learn wine and you will make more money. And I must have been 20 years old at the time. I wasn't even old enough to drink. But I said, man, that sounds like a great plan. So as a young chef, not even 21 years old yet, I learned wine by going through the garbage at night at the Greenbrier, going through the garbage and picking out the wine bottles, lining them up, and calling the wine captain, the sommelier, over and helping me decipher and show me how to read the labels. Even though I wasn't drinking what was inside, I was reading what the labels were, because wine labels get very technical. They don't appear to be technical, but when you start reading French labels, Italian labels, there's all this like secret coding, right? So you see a Barolo and you see a Rioja. You see all these wines that go by the region, but Americans are used to ordering wine by the grape. So I learned regions, I learned what grapes were going to the regions. It wasn't until I was over 21 that I worked at one place, the Broadmoor, where the wine sommelier, the captain there, would actually bring me different samples of wine every night. Never told me what the wine was. Again, I was blind tasting, and taught me what characteristics to look for in the wine. And that was a great experience, because he could bring things to me and say, this is the Merlot, I know it is, this is the Cabernet. I didn't know the name of it, but I knew the characteristics, and it proved to be very valuable. Now, from my own restaurant, now, currently at Aroma Time, we have an immense wine list, which makes me a lot more money than having a small wine list, okay? Because I can pick wines. I can pick wines out that I can upcharge more of a margin, better story. Can have better palate. I have more selection. People actually drive out of their way to me for our wine selection. So a lot of different factors in there that help me now, based upon that small advice that I got. Work on your wine knowledge and increase your increase your salary. That's exactly what's happened. It's increased my sales, my wine knowledge. So I'm a major fan of getting nonfiction books. Like Zig Ziglar said in many of his, go to Automobile University. If you're a driver, if you're out on the road a lot, listen to these nonfiction books and build your skills. So I do a lot of fitness books, a lot of running books, because I like the stories, the inspirational stories of a lot of ultra runners. I'm thinking, if they can run 100 miles, why can't I? And a lot of these guys and women have regular stories, regular backgrounds. They were couch potatoes. They weren't always athletic. So you hear these people that are just building, becoming masterful, successful athletes by starting somewhere, the same place that we're all starting. So those are inspirational stories. I definitely love the motivational, the self-help books. Those are awesome. The nutrition books I buy. You know, I really like things like the 48 Laws of Power, 48 Rules of Power. Robert Greene's the author. I like books like that, historical books. So I kind of buy a different realm of books. I mix it up. I don't just listen to all my business books at one time. I kind of mix it up and jumble it up, and that's it. So get out there, get a nonfiction book, and leave some comments. If you're watching on YouTube, leave some comments on what are some of your favorite nonfiction books, motivational, exercise books, whatever they are, nutritional books. Leave some comments on what some of your favorite books are. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching, listening, tuning in. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and definitely head over to 50mistakes.com. That's my business cyber coaching. I have some books there that on the side there that I think are some amazing books for a business owner, like Chet Holmes. He's an incredible business person. Check out his book. It's linked on my website there, 50mistakes.com. Thanks for watching.